Hi everybody, welcome back. So today I am going to be doing some planting for springtime. So I've got all of my garlic plants that I planted a couple of weeks ago when I did that live stream, which have come up lovely. I will insert a clip here of how they look. So I'm going to take those and plant them all up outside in the grow bags. So garlic likes a cold spell, and it is cold at the moment. There's more frost coming, and there'll probably be hard frosts here for another month and a half. So that will help them have a chance to sort of bulb out properly, and there'll be lots of garlic from each of the plants. So each one grows from a single clove, and then that needs to split into multiple clove, a head of garlic like you would get from the shops. So I'm going to plant those out today. I also am going to be planting up today bell pepper plants that I saved seeds from last year, and I'm planting those up in toilet tubes, the toilet paper in a cardboard tube. So I'm making little plastic free plant pots from those. Basically, you can't plant them directly into the ground with the bottoms closed. You have to open the bottoms up again so the roots can get through, because the cardboard is still quite thick and it would be difficult for the roots to actually break free from that cardboard box that you make. So I'll show you how to make those, and I will show you what I'm doing with those. I'm also going to be reusing the plastic pots that the garlic's currently in later on to pot up my onion sets. So I'll be talking a bit about that as well. So let's get started. Okay, so before we get started, I'm just going to give you a quick tour of the garden at this point and where we are at. So I brought all of my big grow bags back from the allotment in the car park at work, and they've been overwintering here on the front garden, which is where they're actually going to stay. This was doing really well up until the snow from the beast from the east, and that's all gone. These are spring onions going on here. This is the goji berry plant, which I thought was dead, and I mean, looking at it, it looks as dead can be, but look at all this new green new growth that's coming on. So obviously not dead. Here's the garlic that I'm about to plant up. Here's my mulberry bush, and you can see all the new buds forming on here. I haven't pruned this or done anything to this yet. Here are my raspberry canes, and I have pruned and staked all of these, so you can see the new buds and new growth that's coming on all over the shoots that I've left. I took out all the dead wooded ones. This is the cranberry bush that produced a whole single cranberry last year, so I'm hoping for something more than that this year. Here's some more raspberries, and you can see all the new growth really clearly on them. Here is the gooseberry bush. So all the leaves have come off all of these, but you can see the new bud nodules forming on all of these points here. So obviously they've survived the winter. Another thing to note here is all of these, which are shoots from the raspberry canes. So raspberries send out little I can't remember the name of them, but little shoots basically that go off and appear next door as a new plant. So there's some more raspberry canes here, and this is the heritage rose plant that was here when we moved in. So I did a lot of pruning on this last year, and it is massive compared to what it was in terms of the number of leaves and shoots of new growth that are coming out. So I'm quite pleased with that. Empty hanging baskets ready and waiting. Neighbour's back. So here I've got the last of the spinach still going, and some chives. I just bought these to overwinter right at the front door so that I could harvest from them throughout the winter. And they have survived all the 5 lots of snow we've had this year. And this bed is basically completely empty apart from the asparagus. But most of the asparagus is not looking overly healthy following the beast from the east the other week. I didn't think to put anything over it, so it's looking a bit brown if you look. So there's a bit of green there, but it's generally not looking massively great. And the covers come off my tricycle. So I'm going to get started planting these out. I'm going to spread them about, because the point of them is that they will deter bugs, particularly the caterpillars that decimated all my brassicas and things last year. So these are going to just be scattered throughout the different planting beds, along with the onion sets that I'm going to put on inside in the plastic pots once I've finished with them here. Okay, so I've just finished transplanting all the garlic and just given everything a general water. See, I'm quite puffed, so I've spread it out so that every bed, whatever's growing in there, this will deter leaf eaters and things like that. So I'm going to put the onion sets out in the same manner, and then I'm going to do my other veg out around them. So this is me sweating and puffing after just kneeling down for a few minutes to plant out some garlic bulbs. So the other thing I meant to mention was that when I was prizing apart the 2 bulbs that I put in each of the pots, I examined the bulbs to see it, and some of them have definitely started multiplying into more than 1 clove per bulb head. So that is brilliant. That's exactly what we want to happen. We also watered them in really thoroughly, because even though garlic, I don't believe, likes sitting in water, you know, it doesn't like to get its feet wet, it likes to be in very well draining soil. The roots were pretty much bare root when I transplanted them, so I really needed the soil to sort of sink through and settle all around those roots so there's no air pockets. So a lot with the hose. I am intending to put a rain barrel on the downspout in the front garden this year. It only costs about £25, and I researched it with my father-in-law and my best friend's dad, and so I know exactly what I'm doing, but I need to buy that and do it. So I've got a couple of investments to make in the garden this year in infrastructure. One is the rain butt. The second is I need to invest in a cold frame, which James is going to build for me. And the third is I am going to put a second compost bin in the back garden. So I've got a compost pile and a compost bin, but the compost bin is now full and it needs time to sit and do its stuff. Most of it at the bottom is already turned into, you know, nice dark soil, but the stuff at the top isn't ready yet. And because these are the kind of compost bins that you don't turn, they need to be left to sit and the whole thing to do its business. So I am going to get a second one in. They're not expensive either. So I have got here a crate full of red and white onion sets and chipping potatoes. I've got a big tub full of compost, which I've brought in from outside. I've got a whole bunch of things which are basically using as sources on the windowsill to put the pots in, so that when they're watered, the water doesn't hit the wood of the windowsill. So these are from IKEA, and these were actually candle holders from Tesco's that I got years ago. And this is Aldi dessert ramekin. It had ganache in it, really nice ganache. So that's what I'm using. I've got a whole bunch of plastic pots that I saved from nursery starts that I bought last year, and that I have just finished emptying from the garlic that is now in the front garden. So I'm going to be doing this. I've also got my jar here of saved seeds. So in here I've got butternut squash seeds, which I'm not going to plant now, but I've also got bell pepper seeds, which I'm going to sort through and pot up some of those as well. So the other thing that I have got is that I asked everybody at work to save me their toilet roll inner tubes and their kitchen roll inner tubes and things like that. So I've got a whole bunch of cardboard inner tubes, and I've taken those and I have cut them and formed them into these little plant pots that I'm now going to be planting up my seed starts in. So the onion sets will go into these bigger pots, a couple in each pot, and I'll just get them growing on. Once they've got good shoots and good roots, then I will do the same as I did with the garlic, and I will transplant them outside. The bell peppers will end up staying indoors for quite a bit longer, as I haven't got a cold frame yet to put them outside in. They're a Mediterranean plant, so they will not handle a frost. So I am going to keep those on the windowsill. So as well as my little toilet roll pots, I'm going to be using muffin trays and cake tins, the fairy cake trays from the kitchen, to sit them in, basically in the same way as these, just to protect my windowsills from the water that comes through the bottom from watering them. So that's it. So here are all of my toilet roll pots. So I took a toilet roll like this and cut it in half, and then I made 4 slits. And I made 4 slits at each of the compass points of the tube that went down about halfway through what was left, and then folded the pieces together like you would with a cardboard box to form this. And because the cardboard's very thick, the roots wouldn't be able to get through that at the bottom, so you will need to open that up again when you're planting the start set. So you'll need to take the whole plant with all the soil in and everything and undo the bottom. So it's a bit fiddly, but it is zero waste, no plastic, and it cost nothing as well to get, as opposed to investing in a bunch of seed starter trays. Now if you already have a whole load of sale seed starter trays that are plastic, just keep on using those. This is just because I don't already have them, and I didn't want to buy new things in plastic if I didn't have to, so this is the route I am going. So I've got hundreds of them over here, as you can see, already made, and I'm going to just finish up my last couple here. Okay, so I'm going to start with planting out my onion sets. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through and look for any bad ones. So as you can see, this one is just completely soft and gone. So I'll put that to one side. That one doesn't feel too hot either after pulling the skins off. So I'm basically going to go through like that, and any that I find that are good and solid like this, I will pot them up. So first I'm going to just grab myself a handful of soil in the bottom, and then there are 2 sides to the onion sets. There's the pointy side, which you want to be facing up, and then there's the little sort of nub on the bottom, which is where the roots will come out of, and that's sort of the dry looking part. So you put the dry looking part down and the pointy bit facing up, basically. So I think I'm going to put 3 per, actually I think I'll put 4 maybe per little pot, as I don't have many, and they won't be in here for that long, just until the season gets on a bit. They do like a cold spell, so they like to be out in the frost for a while, I believe, but they want to be slightly established first. If you plant them in the autumn, in sort of September, October time, before the winter really starts, the cold weather, then they just lie dormant in the soil during the winter months. But if you plant them in the springtime, you need to make sure that they get a good couple of weeks of really cold weather for the bulbs to start work. So with the onion sets, these are actually were brought on maybe a year ago, and then they dry them out and make them dormant, and then when we plant them, they're then sort of starting up again. They're like resurrected, and they carry on with their growth cycle. With the garlic, you plant 1 clove, and that then splits, and you end up with a bulb or a head of garlic with multiple cloves in it. And that process has already started with the garlic that I just planted out. They've already started dividing, but that cold weather that they're going to get now, being put out before the last of the frosts, so they need a good couple of weeks of frost apparently. to really get their wriggle on when it comes to dividing. Now, even doing 4 to a pot, I might not have enough pots here today for all of my onion sets, so I may have to put some of the onion sets in the toilet paper pots as well. But as I said, it's just literally to give them a bit of a head start before planting them outside, and to get them a bit established here in the warm while it's still too cold to put them on their own outside.